Hey everybody, I'm Bardem, aka The Terrible Australian at supermarcy.com, and this is my video review of The Gunman, which is the new action thriller starring Sean Penn. So let's get right into it. Now, I do love action movies, so I'm pretty much... And I thought the idea of this film sounded really interesting, and it was actually... And one of the key things that made me really interested in checking this film out is, of course, seeing Sean Penn in an action film. Usually, he's a two-time Academy Award-winning actor, sort of does mostly dramas and whatnot. So I found it really interesting in that regard that, he would want to star in an action film. And I thought, okay, that's a pretty cool idea. I can get down with this. So, and also the film was directed by Pierre Morel, who of course directed Taken. And I thought that was, until the awful sequels, but the first film was pretty awesome. So in that regard, and, that dude knows how to direct action. I like Olivier Megaton of Taken 2 and 3 fame, but let's not get into that. But and also it has a pretty solid supporting cast attached to it as well, with Javier, Bardem, Idris, Elba, Winstone, Mark Rylance. So I was really interested to see how this film would turn out. I will say though, while it is watchable, I thought overall that it was a pretty average film, and I think the main reason is the plot to this film isn't really anything we haven't seen before, and usually that wouldn't be a problem in an action film anyway, because usually a lot of action films these days sort of have similar premises, but it's more sort of to do with about how you execute it. And I don't know, I felt this film, even though it is watchable, but I didn't feel like it just did anything that I just didn't find the story to this film engaging enough to me as a viewer. In fact, I would say the film's kind of a little dull as well, and I think one of the reasons for that is that everyone involved with this film sort of takes it completely serious. It's a very humorless film, and I don't expect all my action films to have a lot of humor or that much humor in them, but at least sort of do it in a way that, for me as a viewer, that despite all that can still be engaging and compelling. But I don't know, like I said, I just didn't find that interesting or engaging at all, and just found it a bit dull. Watchable, but just a bit dull. And like I said, the plot's not really anything new, and there are some aspects of the plot that I did find rather muddled as well. And also, the action sequences, even though, for most part, some of them are done pretty well, but there's not really that much. It wasn't really that anything exciting about them, which is kind of a shame, because Pierre Morel can direct action. I mean, Taken and From Paris with Love were both really fun action movies that had really good action set pieces. And even though, he does a solid job with most of them, but like I said, there's nothing particularly memorable or exciting about them that sort of, gets your blood pumping. And also the supporting cast, I felt like some of them were a bit wasted in their roles, particularly Idris Elba, because I thought he'd be a major part of this film, but his role is basically 5 minutes, and I felt that his character was completely wasted. And also, it goes for too long. This film is just way too long. It goes for nearly 2 hours, and it didn't need to be that long as well. And I guess and also the film wants to sort of explore some really interesting themes and ideas that are happening in our world as well. So I guess when Sean Penn attached himself to not only star in this film, because he also co-wrote and produced it as well, I guess in a way he wanted to be sort of the thinking man's action film that, besides just being fun, it had a lot of sort of meat to it, and it dealt with sort of political aspects that are happening in our world. And I don't know, I just felt like it just wasn't interesting enough to me. So, but that's not to say that the film is entirely bad. There are some good qualities to it. Like I said, Sean Penn does a pretty solid job in the film. It's not one of his best performances, but I did find him convincing as an action lead, and I thought that he did, for his first straight up action film role, I thought he did a pretty solid job. And some of the supporting cast like I said, some of them are wasted, but some of them did do pretty well with what they're giving. Jasmine, Trinca, who's sort of the sort of an old girlfriend of Sean Penn's character. I thought she did a pretty solid job, and also I did like Ray Winstone's character, who's kind of like who used to work with Sean Penn back in the day. I thought they were pretty solid, and the film looks good. Like it's competently made, and like some of the set pieces, like even though most of them weren't that exciting, but some of them were done pretty well. Particularly sort of like the one-on-one sort of hand-to-hand fight sequences I thought were pretty solid. And also I got to say this, and this is a negative, and Javier Bardem's in this film as well, and I thought for at least he was solid for most part, but then at a certain point during the film his performance completely collapses and it just becomes really awful, and I feel real bad because Javier Bardem is a terrific actor. And I thought he just gave such a really bad performance in this film. It was actually kind of embarrassing, to be honest. Like I said, it starts off... He plays it, pretty straightforward for the beginning, and it's fine. But then at a certain point, he just goes way too over the top, and it becomes too silly that it just... Yeah, it was just not good at all. And also the screenplay, which I've kind of... could have been better written as well. Like it had, like Sean Penn co-wrote it, and he's a good writer. Like when based on the films that he also directed, because the films that he directed were also extremely well written. But I felt like the script just was average. There wasn't really anything to it. Like it's a film that I feel like it wants to be a really smart, intelligent sort of action thriller, but unfortunately it just doesn't come across that way in the film. It just becomes kind of silly, but unfortunately not in a good way. So yeah, I feel so. Even though overall, I mean, like I said, it is watchable. I mean, like even though it was a bit dull, I wasn't completely bored with it. But I would say it's definitely more of a film to see at home on DVD rather than, checking it out at the cinema. And, yeah, I'm sort of struggling with words to say it. It's just a very sort of average film. There's nothing really sort of major to really talk about it. It's sort of one that you'll watch it and then you just completely forget about it afterwards. And, I do give credit for, everyone involved trying to make the best possible film that they possibly could, but I just didn't find it as fun as it could have been, and maybe if they didn't take it so serious, then maybe it probably would have been better. But, who knows? So, I'd say, I wouldn't, like I said, if you want to check it out, it's just wait for it to come out on DVD. It's probably better just to check it out at home. So, if I had to rate this film, I give it a solid 2.5. Like I said, it's watchable, but as a film, overall, it's just average. So, yep, so that's the end of my video review of The Gunman. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys all later. See everyone. Bye.